Joe Namath. I hope you're doing well, sir. Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
Well, thank you, Ryan, and roll tide, buddy.
Roll tide to you. Joe, by no means, I don't want to get this interview off to a sad start, but as I was preparing for the interview, I woke up this morning, I looked at my calendar, and automatically I was thinking about you and New York City and the ties of September the 11th of 2001. With your ties to New York City, I know that has to be on your mind throughout the day.
Well, it has been. I've been reminded of it throughout the day with the news media as well, and had a lot of flashbacks, having friends there, having been in Manhattan at that time, and on the street during the time of the heinous crime, you might say. Yeah, I have a lot of vivid memories of that night, and my heart just goes out to this day for the families of all the people that suffered, died, and the folks that tried to help everybody going in those buildings, the firemen, the policemen. It was. We lost a lot of friends, and there were a lot of heroes that day, and it's awful to think about, except we move forward. This is America, and we honor those people that have been part of that, and I believe it brought our country together to be even more determined about our USA and the freedom we have.
No doubt, and I didn't want to get you started off on a sad note, but I just thought about you this morning as I was preparing for the interview. Joe Namath right now, it is courtesy of the Namath Grill. NamathGrill.com is the website, and going to be talking about the big products. And, I was looking at that a couple of minutes ago. You're thinking about tailgating in Tuscaloosa. We're hours away from the first game inside Bryant Stadium. This would be a perfect tailgating situation here. Namath throwing those passes and throwing those steaks and hamburgers on the grill.
Yes, I didn't know that I'd be in the business, so to speak, of selling our products, NamathProducts.com. But by God, it's a great product. It's portable. It's stainless steel. It cooks everything, and the heat can get up to 112 degrees. It's a fine product, and then we just happen to be, because of this football season, this time, and talking with you, Ryan, giving people a deal on our products. The steaks as well is a great product, but getting a cooker, you get the carry case and the stand free, save a couple of $100 and all. So we're excited about it. It's a good product. I got to tell you, I've been excited about this Crimson Tide team, and seeing them last week. Some positive things happen. I like what Coach Saban had to say about the game against Wisconsin, because that Wisconsin bunch is a pretty good team.
No doubt. And, Joe, I'd love for you to take just a minute to evaluate the quarterbacks and look at the way they played. I mean, I can imagine you could probably take us back to your first career start at the University of Alabama, but give us a little evaluation of those quarterbacks. Everybody wants to know your thoughts.
Well, I'd really be out of line if I didn't echo Coach Saban's thoughts. He knows more about them than I do, and he was pretty pleased with their play. Sure, when you get picky, you want to see your guy throwing a strike every time that he throws in the right direction. Coker handled himself well. The gentleman, what's his name?
Cooper Bateman.
Bateman, yes. Well, he did well when he came in well enough. He didn't have much of a chance to really show his skills, but it's a team win, and they're all going to improve. Again, Coach Saban sounded pretty darn happy for the most part, and there were some things that you saw, a couple of times that Wisconsin defensive front got some penetration on the offensive line. There were times that Wisconsin had some nice pass plays, beating our linebackers, but you know what? You got to give credit to the other side from time to time. That was a good Wisconsin team that we beat last week.
No doubt about it. And right now we're talking with Joe Namath here inside the game in Tuscaloosa. And I always feel bad saying Joe, but I know that's what you want to be called. I mean, I feel like I owe you respect and say Mr. Namath, but I'll just say Joe, as you've corrected me many times here on the radio before. So I want to talk about, obviously, Alabama football and sort of getting back, as Nick Saban talked about, the identity of Alabama football. Alabama football is one of those that, hey, we're going to run it right here. There's not much you can do about it. We're going to play physical, run a lot of play action pass. But you could see that identity starting to change last Saturday night as Nick Saban put a heavy emphasis on that throughout the offseason.
Well, I believe Coach Saban and our coaching staff is getting the team prepared to be able to be flexible and do the unexpected at times, too, as well as the expected. Now, we're not going to run the football all day long against some teams. We've got to be able to have those teams respect the run, which they're going to, which they do, but we've also got to be able to execute the pass game. And that means good blocking up front to start with, accurate throwing, and catching the ball. That's on the offensive side. The defensive side, we do have a nice front seven, no doubt, and probably more depth than I'm aware of. The secondary is such a tough job, man, playing those corner positions and safety positions. You've got a lot of area to run with people and try to stay close to them. And any quarterback, given the time, is going to be able to find a receiver eventually. A receiver should be able to get open if we don't get a good pass rush on. So we've got room for improvement, of course, and the start was good. So I'm just tickled. I hope our kicking game shows a little more improvement, too. I wasn't too sure about how we did with the kicking game other than some pretty good coverage.
Right now we're talking with Joe Namath inside the game. How would you describe Coach Bryant? And I know that's a great segue into a birthday that we're celebrating today. It's 102nd birthday would have been Coach Bryant, and what he means to the University of Alabama, the success that we're having now is a contribution back to him and many of the great players like yourself. Well, how would you describe Coach Bryant?
As a passionate, concerned man with having respect for people and really the humility to understand that it took his upbringing, his folks, his neighborhood, his environment to form him into what he became and the leaders that he worked with throughout his years. He's one of, if not the most, I shouldn't say the most because I know some other people like my father, but respectful man, had respect for others, and he drew the line, discipline. He was very disciplined with himself when it came to dealing with people, his team, his coaches, and he expected a certain discipline out of his students, his pupils. And if you didn't do that, he'd give you a talking to, and if you still didn't hear him properly, he'd find you another place to go.
When I look at the bond that was created, I've got a very special opportunity here in Tuscaloosa. We talk Alabama football 52 weeks out of the year, 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. It's people like you have made my show possible to be able to feature you and many other players here on the game. But everything that when I talk to Bryant players, they always talk about that special bond. How did that bond develop? Because to me, the players would walk through anything to defend Coach Bryant, and they're still doing it to this day. I mean, every time I feature a Bryant player, they always talk about that special bond. I mean, was it that respect part that you just didn't want to let him down, or help us understand that bond?
You grew to know and believe in him, in what he was saying was the right route to take. Now, the guys that were there for Coach Bryant's initial season, and the second season, and the third season, they probably had it more difficult than the rest of us because of Coach Bryant's determination to find out who really wanted to pay the price to be there and to represent the University of Alabama. And those of us that came 3, 4, 5 years after Coach Bryant was there, and then after learning. Well, it's not. It's a good habit. I'd like to say habit was developed. The guys that Coach Bryant had come in, for the most part, were outstanding athletes, but outstanding gentlemen too when they left. Good men, and so Coach Bryant didn't just influence us on the field. It was off the field too for the big game of life, and we're all grateful to him because again, he worked. He may have outworked everyone. At least that's the way we saw it. Every meeting we ever had, whether it was in old Freedman Hall or over in the old coach's gym or whatever, you could be a player getting in there early, but Coach Bryant was there waiting. And he was getting himself ready, but letting everybody know that if the meeting was to start at 9 o'clock, it'd be good to be there about 10 to 9 or 15 to 9.
What do they say in military? Is early is on time and on time is late?
Yeah, something like that. That's right.
Joe Namath, as we're talking right now inside the game here in Tuscaloosa, I want to recall and go back to a game that I believe that he asked you if you were prepared, and you really didn't give a certain answer. Can you walk us through that story? I think there's a lot of fun in that one.
Yeah, well, I'm laughing now, but it was no laughing matter at the time. I was a sophomore, and we were getting ready to play Georgia in Birmingham. We were also the defending national champions, and I had the honor of being able to start the game with the likes of Mel Moore at quarterback and Jack Hurlbut and Carlton Rankin, Buddy French, Grady Elmore, and for some reason Coach Bryant thought I had a good spring, and I was getting the start. So after the pregame meal, Coach Bryant always took his quarterbacks for a walk out of the old, was it the Bankhead Hotel, I believe, in Birmingham. Take us for a walk around the block, and we just started walking, and naturally the rest of all of us quarterbacks were just all ears to start with. None of us said a word. We got about a half a block, and Coach Bryant finally said, Joe, you got the game plan? And I said, yes, sir, I think so. He said, you what? You think so? God damn, son. It's time to know the hay is in the barn. I said, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Well, I tell you what, I never used that I think so answer the rest of my athletic life. I made sure when I had a job to do that I convinced myself it was no I think so. It was yes, sir, I know. I learned a quick lesson there, and I noticed out the side of my, a couple of guys were kind of smiling at the freshmen or with Coach Bryant. Well, Coach Bryant wasn't smiling. I made a big mistake there, but fortunately we had a terrific team, Richard Williamson, Leroy Jordan. Man, we had some guys, Cotton Clark, Butch Wilson, Pelham Henry. We ended up beating Georgia that night 35-0. So we were prepared.
Right now, we've got a lot of newcomers. Tomorrow, inside Bryant-Denny Stadium, they will put that jersey on and they'll walk out of the tunnel for the very first time. If you could put your arm around a newcomer, a freshman who has never had a chance to experience that, what would you tell him about the University of Alabama and what Alabama means to you?
Wow. Ryan, it takes some time there. First of all, congratulate him for making a wonderful decision and being at the University of Alabama, because it's a wonderful family. I've grown to learn over the years that it is a big family for most of us anyway. At least we feel that way, those of us that have been around the university, the staff, not just the football people, but the people in town even, being in Tuscaloosa. It's a way of life. It's influenced big time by the university and its athletics, but the people that have lived there for so many years, it's a very fortunate situation to be in as a student. And I know the students today, they earn their way there because getting into the university is very competitive. And so I kind of trust most of the people I meet as young students when I visit the University of Alabama, because I know that they've worked hard just to get there. I just hope they gradually understand how important those years will be to them throughout their lives.
One more final question. I've got a couple here that I'm trying to work in with Joe Namath inside the game. And I want to go back to what you believed in the University of Alabama. We went through some, I don't know if you want to say dark days, but days that were not the expectation here in Tuscaloosa. And you lended your university a hand with Coach Mal Moore and his vision, and took the Joe Namath and did the first annual golf tournament, helped raise money, the facilities, and put Alabama back to where it should be. What was the vision that you and Coach Mal Moore discussed in getting the facilities back on par?
Mal Moore he's done so much more for the University of Alabama with the University of Alabama that I ever dreamt of. You know, you can't even talk about the two of us in contributions in the same way. Mel was a giant, man. He was just he lived it. He was there every day throughout the years. Sure, he traveled to some other universities and did some coaching, and but that's home. You know, the old boy from Dozier.
He loved this place.
Oh gosh, yeah. And hey, not just football, in life, we get some tough times, man. You believe in your Almighty, and sometimes, you've got to stay close and keep praying that things are going to work out, because tragedies happen to people outside of sports, you see. We're talking about football specifically here, but our football program went downhill because we just didn't own up. We didn't play properly. We didn't have maybe the best players. We didn't have maybe the best coaching at the time. But whenever we were talking about Coach Bryant and Coach Saban and Coach Stallings, you know, you're talking about very special coaches, very special leaders. Mel Moore, a very special man. So going back, and even before Coach Bryant came home, so to speak, the Crimson Tide, they had some formidable teams in years going out there and winning the Rose Bowl early on, you know. So this goes way back, the tradition of the University of Alabama and the football program, and you see what we're developing now, Ryan, the things going on with our softball teams, our gymnastic teams, the girls involved. You know, it's wonderful to have been able to witness the growth and so many positive changes that have taken place since the early 60s, for me anyway.
Joe, a lot of Alabama fans, and you know, when you talk, people listen. Just like when you got behind the fundraising and around this world, when Joe Namath talks, we listen. Whether you're talking about quarterbacks or life or just giving us great lessons. In the summer, we lost a legend here in Tuscaloosa, Kenny Stabler. We'd love to try to find a way to get him in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Would you help us in getting maybe a little bit of push there for Kenny Stabler? I know you're part of it, but what could you do to help us get Kenny Stabler? I know he's on a senior list there of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but with your name helping out our your fellow friend Kenny Stabler.
You got me chuckling, man, because in my mind there's no doubt Kenny's going to be there. I mean, in my mind, there's no doubt that Kenny played as well or better than 90% of us over the years. Kenny deserves to be in the Football Hall of Fame because of what he did out on that football field, his savvy, his playing, his abilities, his determination. And anybody that's played professional football, they go back to, you want to go back to some old days where the films are, all of a sudden they're old days, and watch Kenny play. Yeah, he could play for anybody, anytime, on any level, and he'd stand out. So I really don't doubt that Kenny will be in the Professional Football Hall of Fame.
Joe, thank you so much. I want to invite people, NamathGrill.com, NamathProducts.com, where you can find Broadway Joe TV as well, where you can find those Namath steaks. The grill's available there. Those are great websites, and I'll let you add more if you'd like. Well,
I know our team's going to be ready for this bunch from up there in Tennessee. I know that's a different Tennessee team. Murfreesboro, though, whenever I saw where they're from, brought to mind our old trainer, Jim Goosetree, and I just want to throw that.
Oh, absolutely. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I hope we improve this week and keep getting better throughout the year. Yeah, let's have a good game, and I never want to see anybody get injured from either team. It's a tough game, but we'll keep our fingers crossed when it comes to the injuries too.
Well, it's an honor to be able to talk to you. I've met you several times. You've always been very personable, and as I move my show back to prime time this last couple of weeks, I always think about the interviews you gave me, and certainly have helped me get where I'm at today. Joe, thank you so much for the help on this program and talking Alabama football. We can feel the energy and the passion you have for this university, and it's greatly appreciated. It's an honor to talk to you, sir.
Well, Ryan, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you during the season because I will be in the Capstone checking out at least one of our games.